Welcome back to another episode of Miss Bioscience. Last time we explored how natural selection improves species by acting on adaptations that increase chances of reproduction. If it doesn't increase chances of reproduction, then it likely won't undergo natural selection. When a certain trait makes an organism better at surviving and reproducing, we call it an adaptation. Some adaptations might be widespread, like fur for warmth, while other adaptations might be very specific to a species, like we looked at long necks on giraffes. Adaptations can come in three different flavors. You can have physical adaptations that are actual changes to body structure, for example, quills on a porcupine or sharp teeth on a carnivore. You can have physiological adaptations, which are processes that the body automatically does, such as rattlesnakes producing venom or mammals producing milk. Finally, a behavioral adaptation is something that the organism does to increase survival, like living in large herds or building nests. We can identify examples of each of these in humans. Today will be a quick overview of some of the amazing adaptations humans have acquired, but we will go into more depth on some of the specifics later. This list is definitely not comprehensive, so see if you can identify any adaptations that I missed. Humans have physically adapted in many ways. We are the only mammal species that is truly bipedal, meaning we walk on 2 feet instead of 4, which makes us incredibly efficient walkers and runners. The loss of fur and hair from most of the body also allows for better temperature control through sweat. These two combined mean that we can't necessarily beat out other species in speed, but we can run them down into pure exhaustion with our efficiency. Additionally, our brain size to body ratio beats out most other species, and the human brain has more folds or gyrification, which can increase cognition. This physical adaptation of the brain will allow for some of the behavioral adaptations we list in a minute. Physiological adaptations can be harder to identify because your body does them without your active participation. For example, sweating is a physiological adaptation. Some animals, like dogs, cannot sweat, so they have to evaporate water from their tongues by panting. The human body will automatically produce sweat in order to lower body temperature through evaporation, and the surface area of our skin allows this to happen a lot faster. Pair this with the efficiency in running and you have an ultra-endurance runner. If you're curious about how humans compare, there's a series of horse versus human marathons you can look up. Another physiological example would be lactose tolerance. This isn't an adaptation that is universal for all humans, but some populations have evolved the ability to continue drinking milk past infancy because of a change in gene regulation. This kept some human populations from starving during winter months when crops were less reliable. Finally, I'm sure you can identify multiple behavioral adaptations that have made humans successful. Humans have adapted through the use of language, art, and music in order to communicate and trace history. We tend to live and collect in families and communities, which allows for specialization in jobs. It also allows for better childcare. Our communities organize into larger networks based in similar cultures, religions, and governments. We use tools for problem solving and engineering, transportation, textiles, and art. And we pass knowledge that we've learned from one generation to the next through teaching and written record. The list of behavioral adaptations goes on. There are many examples that were not listed today, so if you think of one I missed, leave it in the comments. I'm excited to dive into each of these more in depth as we start to cover some human ancestry and how these adaptations started to pop up.